Okay, so in talking about the spinal cord, we need to talk about some of the structures that protect it. And just like the brain had meninges, the spinal cord also has meninges. One thing to point out is these are continuous with the cranial meninges. So meninges that surround the brain, as they pass down the brain and into the spinal cord area, it's one continuous meningeal layer. It doesn't stop and then start a new one. And so because of that, the names of these meningeal layers are going to be pretty much the same. So we can see right here as we look at the spinal cord again here, that we've got 3 meningeal layers, and we had the same 3 meningeal layers present around the brain. So the pia mater is going to hug very tightly to the spinal cord. The one that's most superficial and closest to the bone is going to be the dura mater. And then in between, we once again have the arachnoid mater. Okay. Now, there's actually a good picture in your homework that shows these. Okay, and so this is showing the pia mater right here. And it is this whitest tissue that looks kind of goopy, and it's right next to this more yellow tissue that's actually the spinal cord and nerves. Okay. Now this structure over here is a nerve coming out. This is a nerve coming out. It's a real picture. I think it's pretty awesome. Okay. So pia mater is the goopy white stuff. This that's a little bit thicker over here is the dura mater. Okay. And then in between is going to be that arachnoid mater. Okay. Now, just like we had before, you should notice spaces on either side. Okay. And so let's talk about what those spaces are. So if we go to this image, again to remind you, we're looking at a transverse cut, and now we're looking down on that cut portion. Okay. So here's that knobbly part of the vertebra that you can feel through your back. Okay, and here is the spinal cord right here. Okay, and so if we look at these different regions, I actually want to show you the layers of the meninges first. Okay, so here's spinal cord, white matter, dark matter. Okay, and right next to it, this thin white layer is the pia mater. Okay, this next white layer right here is the arachnoid mater, and then on the outside is going to be the dura mater. It's a little bit bluish, and you can see it over here. It looks blue. Okay, and so you should notice that there are spaces in between them. Now I want to point out we have an additional space for the spinal meninges that we didn't see with the cranial meninges. So here's the dura mater, and here's the bone, and so in between this we have this thing called the epidural space. Okay, and this space, you can see from this image, it's filled with adipose tissue or fat tissue. We're also going to find that it's filled with blood vessels that are running up and down this area of the spinal column. Okay. Then in between dura mater and arachnoid mater, we're going to have the subdural space. Okay, so that's this black line right through here. And in healthy individuals, that space really doesn't have anything collected in it. It's a potential space. Now, deep to the arachnoid mater, we're going to find the subarachnoid space, and that you can see it here, you can see it here, you can also see it this black area that goes all the way around here. So it's the largest space in this location. Okay, so certainly much larger than the subdural space. And the subarachnoid space is going to contain cerebrospinal fluid. And so if you remember from the brain lecture, that's going to provide nutrients, that's going to cushion against impact, and that is also going to help the brain float and be light. Okay, And it does the same for the spinal cord. Okay, so it does all of those things for the spinal cord. So those are going to be the spinal meninges. So I'd like to point out in the notes packet that on this page and on the previous page of the homework lesson, we have gone over this part, so the region and number of the spinal nerves. Just to help you out, I'll give you the first one. You could say that there are cervical nerves, and there are going to be 8 pairs. One on each side, right and left. Okay. So go ahead and fill in the other ones. I would actually add in a number 5, and that would be a coccygeal spinal nerve, and there's 1 of those. Okay. We've gone through the meningeal layers. Again, just like the dura mater and the brain, that layer is going to be a very thick and tough layer, and the arachnoid mater is going to have those web-like portions. Pia mater, thin, and it hugs the cord. And again, location of the space, epidural space, that's going to be outside, or you could say superficial to the dura mater. Okay. And go through there. I've described all this in the lecture content, so see how well you know it, and go back and see if you can look for this. Okay. We've talked about all